I know you guys are here for the title of this video, but please stay tuned till the end so I can talk a little bit about this design that I made that is available on my merch store. That means so much to me, and it would mean the world if you guys checked it out. And the backstory behind this design: to breed Otocinclus is having the right diet and the right variation in supplements in their diet. So this will help a lot with breeding, but also this will help a lot if you're just concerned about keeping Otocinclus alive, as they are known for dying out in numbers because they're not fed well enough. And Otocinclus have a bacteria in their gut. Now this is a good bacteria, and they constantly need to feed this bacteria, as this bacteria basically feeds off of the Otocinclus. Otocinclus need to eat constantly, if not 24/7 or most of the day, to keep this bacteria alive. If the bacteria dies out because the Otocinclus was not fed well enough, the Otocinclus will die. Now, the bacteria can die before the Otocinclus, and so many of the time when a previous owner did not take care of Otocinclus or supplement their diet like they should, and if they say that they're eating algae in the tank, then they are not fed well. That's just not enough for Otos to survive. They need food all the time, and food available in the tank always. But the bacteria could die in their care, and so when they are with you, they can still eat, but since that bacteria died, they're not going to survive without it. It's kind of drastic, but that's just the life of an Otocinclus. Now, the more we captive breed, we can change how accustomed they are to the food available to them in their environment in the wild. Now, we can't always provide, or even mainly provide, the food that they eat in the wild in captivity, but we can change over time, getting them used to the food that we can provide, and is still great, if not better, in the long run. Now, I have a video on Otocinclus care, not necessarily breeding, but just the care, and it has everything that you need to know. I'm not exaggerating when I say this. I think Otocinclus are still misunderstood, especially with their diet, and I did include how you can have food in the tank all the time and how it's possible to do that for them and have your water quality not rise in ammonia spikes or anything. It will be safe to keep food in at all times, and it is super necessary for Otocinclus. I'm going to focus on what you can feed Otocinclus so that you are providing the variety that they need and everything to keep your Otocinclus alive. Without further ado, now in the wild, Otocinclus eat what's called Aufwuchs. I hope I'm saying that right. It's a German word. Every pronunciation that I looked up on the internet said it differently, so that didn't really help, but I settled on this one because it sounded like a German guy was saying it, so if I have any German viewers, please let me know. But in the wild, Otocinclus eat Aufwuchs. Now, this is basically surface food. Otocinclus are surface eaters, so they eat things that are on the surface, and usually it's a mixture of algae and slime or biofilm, and also microorganisms. Now, because of this, many people associate Otocinclus with eating algae because it's what is mainly on the surface for them to consume. Especially in the wild, it's so much easier for them to find this good algae because it's a soft algae that they can munch. Now, in captivity, algae can be super tricky to grow the right one. Everyone has different water parameters, and this affects what algae grows in your tank. For example, I suffer with green spot algae, and that is because I have silicates in my water, so that doesn't really work in my favor. And lighting, because I use a bright light for the plants, and so the green spot algae grows but Otocinclus do not eat this. It's very tricky for you to grow the right algae. I wish we knew more about water chemistry and how to grow algae, especially specific kinds, because that would be amazing. But at the moment, it's just too tricky. So for Otocinclus, there are different ways you can provide algae. It's also especially important to not leave those microorganisms out. They are part of the surface food that they eat in the wild, and they are the protein that they still need even if they are herbivores. Now, algae supplements can be by simply providing any kind of algae tablet or algae wafer. Now, they don't have to be the best quality. And I say this especially for Otocinclus because you do want to make sure that your Otocinclus is constantly eating. And so even if you don't have the best variety of algae wafers, I still recommend trying, if they are eating it, to use them. Now this one does have some meals in it, which means it's not the best quality, but I do still feed at least once or twice a week, 1 or 2 of these, so that I know that they're still eating and getting food in their system. Another way to supplement algae is with the flakes. Now some companies like Seachem sell chlorella flakes, and I absolutely love these. These are super healthy. They do have they have 1 meal filler. It mainly has the algae vitamins and 1 filler. So I really like this one, and they are just really thin flakes. They can break in your hand. So they're super soft, which I like because Otocinclus can easily munch on them and really fast. Now they are a bit on the expensive side, but I think they are super worth it for Otocinclus, and it lasts you a long time. You really don't need to put that much all the time. These are especially also good for Otocinclus fry because they are smaller, and so their teeth are also smaller, and so this will be easier for them to munch. But even though they are on the expensive side, you can feed 2 to 3 flakes 2 to 3 times a week. That's what I do, and it still lasts a long time. So I really like this. Another way you can provide algae is by Spirulina. Now Spirulina is an absolute algae, and you can buy them in tablets and you can also buy them in powder. I recommend the powder because it's pure Spirulina. It's dry and you can put it in the tank easily. Now you do have to be careful with Spirulina because it can foul your water quality. Even though it's an algae, it's a very pigmented algae and it's super strong, and so you do not want it to cloud your water because that will lower your water quality and can cause issues. But I like to put a pinch once or twice a week, and if I am feeding a lot of Spirulina, then I am also going to probably do a water change, a very small water change, not a normal water change, but just a little one to help clean up the water a bit 1 or 2 days after I've used the Spirulina. And I really like to sprinkle this around the tank so that they can naturally graze like Otocinclus are going to. They look on any surface for food, and so this will especially be helpful because it can lay on these surfaces of things more so than like a whole veggie or even the flakes or a tablet. Those kind of just stay in one place, but this can be all around. Just be careful with the amount you're using. I usually just take a pinch, and that's good enough for the day or 2 days, and then maybe one other time in the week I feed it again, but I pretty much only feed this twice a week because it is tricky, but it is an amazing way to provide algae. Now the brand I'm using is Nutrisa. It's a frozen yogurt shop. You've probably heard of it and have it around you, and they sell not only just fast food products, but also products that you can keep at the house, so you might be able to find Spirulina powder there. Now there's also a brand called Repashy. Is that the brand? You guys have told me about this, and you've told me about, it's called Repashy Soylent Green. Now where I am, I don't have access to it, but I've always heard great things about Repashy, and I think that it is definitely something that I would supplement for my Otocinclus if I could. It's a mixture of the Offlux. I think there's also one that can provide biofilm, and so it's definitely very useful for Otocinclus, and so if you can get your hands on that, which I can't, I would suggest it. Now I have made a graph, well, not really a graph, what would you call this? A diagram? I need to go back to school. I've made this so you can kind of see the way you should keep proportions in an Otocinclus diet. Now they are not in percentages simply because I don't have the science behind me to give you percentages of every portion of their diet that they should have, but I do think that they benefit from the majority of these things, so that's why I put it like that. But now the herbs are optional. It's just a good variety, but it kind of counts with the veggies and fresh material, but I just put its own portion. And of course, protein. Oh. Now for the fresh greens, you do want to include variety, and if you take a look at the Otocinclus video, I do explain how to keep veggies in and what veggies can be kept in for forever and which ones cannot. So do check that out. I also have a chart that I made and drew that you can quickly pause the video to see, so it's a little bit more helpful for you to know a variety of veggies that you can use and to see which ones you have in your area and can feed to your Otocinclus. Otocinclus can also need to graze on dried material. Now this can be wood and dried leaves. Now it can be the Indian almond leaves, catappa leaves, and it can also be the leaves from safe plants that also provide tannins. And I also made a chart with this, so if you want to just pause the video and see which ones you might have, just make sure that there are no pesticides being used on these plants if you're going to get them from a tree and dry them, because they will not be safe. But dried material will especially help you keep food available to Otocinclus at all times, and especially without fouling the water quality, because wood and leaves truly won't do any damage. And the last thing for Otocinclus is protein. Now a lot of people leave this out because they think that Otocinclus are true herbivores, but this is just not the case. They are surface grazers and they eat offwooks, and this means that they also eat the microorganisms that is part of offwooks. Now this can be rotifers, it can be copepods and other living microorganisms. And I have an amazing way for you to introduce them to your tank. Now, all you need is hay that you can feed to rabbits or guinea pigs or even gerbils. You will be able to use it in your aquarium. Now, for the majority of the pieces, I do recommend that you boil the pieces so they sink to the bottom. Couple of pieces I would say do not boil, because I don't know if it will destroy the microorganisms that are actually going to come off of this hay. It's kind of amazing. This hay, this dried hay will produce biofilm, and the microorganisms will appear from the biofilm. It's kind of amazing and really cool to see, so definitely try it out. You will get some rotifers and copepods. Now Otocinclus are not always fast enough to catch these, but they will catch them from time to time, and it is a natural part of their diet, so being able to provide it with hay is super nice and easy. So I definitely recommend keeping hay around for Otocinclus to keep those microorganisms around. And even if you only use 2 pieces that you don't boil, and the reason why you're going to boil the other pieces is just to make sure that you're not introducing any kind of disease or pests that live inside hay, because hay is still grass, even though it's dried, especially if you're buying bulk hay, wherever the farms or the people that keep the hay have it usually have insects. It's just inevitable. So that's why I recommend boiling most of it and then just maybe 1 or 2 pieces to introduce those microorganisms. And once you have these microorganisms in your tank, they tend to populate very rapidly, and since Otocinclus are not the brightest fish or the fastest, they will populate enough for them to keep a consistent number, and your Otocinclus will still be able to capture some. Now, as other ways for protein, and with live foods, now again, Otocinclus are not really fast and they leave things over time, and so you want to be careful to not start a population of anything. So if you are feeding live foods, I do recommend keeping very, very little if you can, or even freezing them in ice cubes. I love doing this. I love putting them in ice cube trays, freezing them, and just popping them in the fish tank when I want to feed it. They will be dead, so they cannot populate, and the Otocinclus will eventually find them. And it's a great way to provide really healthy protein for them. But you can also buy dried or freeze-dried live food. Now, I have one that is Daphnia. Now, this is Daphnia, and it is the freeze-dried kind. And now these ones they come in little cubes. They are an imported brand, so, but you can probably find Daphnia, brine shrimp, or even bloodworms and other safe safe live foods for Otocinclus in any aquarium store. And you can feed protein like once a week or twice at the most, I'd say, but they do need it, and especially with the microorganisms, you really don't have to fuss too much over it unless you want to induce breeding. Then I probably would consistently feed once a week some variety of protein, or twice a week. And quickly going back to the herbs, now it's not quite known, most herbs are not really tested or just known to be fed to fish, but the ones that I know of that you can feed are arugula, cilantro, and basil. I'm not sure about any other herbs, but if you know of any, or if you find any research, I would love to see it, because any way to add variety is just great. But lastly, I just want to touch on the design of my merch. I designed this based on my tank and me and Otocinclus, and the story behind this is that when the fish tank was in this room, and I actually have a video where I was doing a Q&A and I was wearing this outfit, but it's just a really huge symbol for me, because when I was breeding Otocinclus, and I am still going to, I have big plans and I can't wait to show you guys. When it was super, super stressful, especially being the only one to go off of in what to do, because no one really breeds them, and it was just super difficult. I sat in front of the tank hours in my day, every day, to count the fry, to check the fry, see any eggs, see any spawning behavior, just everything, make sure that they were eating. I would wait long enough to see that a part of the food that I provided was gone from an Otocinclus fry. So it was just really difficult and crazy, but it was so worth it, and that's why this design means so much to me, because it really symbolizes all that time and effort I put, and because it's just something that is so worth it and needed for Otocinclus. So if you ever want to support the Breeding Otocinclus project that I've been doing, and just this channel in general, do check out that merch. I forgot to mention, but I also have another design of Otocinclus if you're not a fan of having me on your clothes that you choose. There's just one with Otocinclus, so be sure to check that one out if you prefer. And also, if you do join our aquarium community, make sure you tell everyone that Shine sent you. My name on there is Shine, and I am an admin there, so be sure to do that. Now again, if you guys have any questions at all, I'm always available on our aquarium Discord. And now we are the largest aquarium community on Discord. We are amazing. We are 3,000 and something members strong, and people with all experiences and knowledge are there all the time, and they help each other all the time. And I'm also there talking about Otocinclus. I've actually convinced some of our members to talk about Otocinclus, give shout outs to Otocinclus for this video. But I would definitely recommend joining that aquarium community. But that is it for this video. Make sure to leave a like and comment and subscribe for more breeding Otocinclus and all the plans we have in the future. In my last fish video, I did say that I was burnt out, but I am getting over this. It's actually been really good for me right now. So I have lots of plans, so be sure to check that out. Bye!